get into the drafts with Team Philippines in the blue side and Indonesia on the red.
Antara Indonesia vs Philippine di Iesf Mlbb 2020. Yang kali ini sih Philippine diwakili oleh tim Blacklist yang kemarin jadi juaranya MPL Philippine ya. Yang Indonesia ini diwakili oleh Evos. Tapi junglernya bukan si Cucin maupun si Persik.
Like you mentioned, right? Indonesia are trying their best to take away the heroes that can really disengage from all the crazy engages that they usually look to bring. Atlas becomes a ban towards Indonesia from the Philippines, knowing that again Dreams is very, very good on that hero. An absolute monster when it comes down to going for those cheeky engages, those flashy plays as a roamer.
Those unexpected plays. And speaking of unexpected, when
Ini
you talk about
Brands yang
Dreams,
kita
one
tahu
of the
dia
heroes, he doesn't
dulu
really get to play a
XPTR,
lot, but he can actually have
dia
a huge
junglernya tapi
impact
sekarang
on, is
sudah
that
di Evos
Kadita.
dia
So I
main
wonder if
bot
that is still
laner.
a possibility as Indonesia will ban out that Benedetta, having a lot of mobility, a lot of wave clear, a lot of impact that can be translated, can be transferred to the side lanes or even the jungle. So they will not want to deal with that. And for the Philippines, it's going to be Leomord. Whoa.
Leomord ban, again, this is a hero that we've seen many times before. Leomord, I think, is the most banned hero so far in ISF. But it's already a very interesting ban. It's a very interesting draft phase for both of these teams. So far, from the 3 matches we have casted from all 6 games,
Leomordnya Indonesia.
We haven't really seen that Atlas and the Benedetta in the first phase of bans, right? We usually see the Martis, we usually see the 1-1, and both of those heroes have been left up for grabs right now, with Valentina as well still open. Indonesia needs to choose whether they want to ban the Valentina or the 1-1, or perhaps just leave both open so that they can trade it out. Remember, on the red side, you do get 2 picks. Meanwhile, Philippines will have to choose. It's going to be the 1-1 ban from Indonesia. Valentina wide open, especially on the hands of Team Philippines, which we know can be flexed in the mid lane and to the jungle.
You have to wonder if both these teams have access to information that we do, as the public do not, right? Because a lot of these bans, yes, they are also meta picks, but they seem slightly targeted as well. Valentina will be the main pick for the
Kemarin aja
Philippines.
sempat keluar yang di MPL-nya itu Valentine ini sebagai jungler, terus Queen juga jungler. Nggak tahu juga sih kali ini bakal jungler lagi apa enggak Valentine-nya.
And as you mentioned, the Martis as well. There are a lot of options that
Indonesia mengamankan Kaja yang juga lagi OP sih.
Indonesia though, with the Kaja shadow pick, we haven't seen the Kaja go to the jungle here in ISF, which is pretty interesting, right? Because if you take a look at your ranked games, if you go on and play ranked, you should probably see a lot of Kajas in the jungle. And right now, I do believe Indonesia are going to pick up the Kaja to flex. We've seen it in the mid lane, we've seen it in the side lane as well, and even as a roamer. But the Fairness is going to be a pickup, another solid pickup for Indonesia. Meanwhile, Philippines with no hesitation instantly just lock in the Fredrin and the Beatrix. Another comfort pick for Philippines for their gold laner.
The Filipino sniper. He is here to play for sure. And looking at the composition so far, it does seem like the Philippines have a lot more of a combo situation. They do have the big engage with a taunt from Fredrin, and they can combo the Beatrix, not only using the sniper, but with the Nibiru's passion as well, which is a lot stronger right now. For Indonesia, it seems like they have a better mix of pickup potential as well. But of course, we have no idea just yet which lane are these heroes going to be put into. And whoa, that is a huge song for the first time, I think, in ISF.
First time in ISF, the Yuzong makes his debut here in Bali. Just some dive, I guess, dive potential from the side of Indonesia to stop Beatrix from free hitting, and obviously just threaten that back line. Threaten the back line. As now we are going to be entering the second phase of the bans. Indonesia with the first ban. They're already looking towards, I feel, more of a dive composition with this whole comp. Indonesia with the Fairness, the Kaja, and the Yuzong, they're going to try their best to actually look for the all-in team fights, right? They do not want these team fights to go to distance, because if it does, Philippines have the heroes to take it.
Philippine nggak
So far, they have a lot more
terprediksi ya
DPS for sure. So the longer the
untuk
fight draws out,
dia
the
jungler
more the
pakai
combo that Indonesia is
bakal
going for
pakai
will
apa
start
di
faltering.
ISF
Right
ini
now, we've seen
sama
a
kayak
similar
di
strategy, right?
MPL
Faramis as
PH
well
kemarin
as the
sih.
Kaja, but usually it's paired with an engage. They can bring
Oh,
everyone together and
Leslie
allow
masih
that
jadi
Kaja to
respect
have
ban ya guys
optimal
ya.
damage output in
Dan
those big fights.
hero-hero
But now,
epic ini kan dulu kan,
for now
tapi
at least, we
sekarang
haven't seen anything
gila
like that
lagi
from the side of
OP-OP-nya dia.
Indonesia. Leslie has been picked by the Philippines, so denying another sniper from Indonesia. And Lolita
Menurutku
actually
ini
will be
sih
the ban
lagi
for
OP-nya
Indonesia. So
Leslie
maybe
ini
they are
bakal
looking
jadi
at a hero with a
apa
lot of
ya,
projectiles for now.
bakal sering di
And I actually
respect ban
expected
lah
the Leslie to be picked up by
selama
Indonesia
ISF
early
ini.
on, right? The final pick of the first phase, the Yuzong. I expected it to be the
Tapi
Leslie.
guys, percaya Indo
But
Pride.
now, because it has been left open, hasn't been picked up, Indonesia are going to have to start prioritizing Brands' hero here as they go for the ban towards the Paquito. Oh, 2 bans
Gila.
towards the XP lane, I do believe, with the Benedetta and the Paquito. Philippines still without a
Kalau
jungler,
begini sih
but I think Indonesia is
bisa
just trying to
jadi
take that
junglernya
Paquito away, knowing
Fredrin ya
that it's a
guys ya,
very good flex
untuk
pick. And
Philippine
currently,
ya.
Philippines, they have the Fredrin, they have the Valentina. We've seen Wise play both Fredrin
Dilihat
and Valentina in the
ban-nya
jungle.
dari si
So that's
ini
the
sih.
threat that Indonesia really needs to think of constantly. And you can already see Philippines with a very smart approach through the second bans, trying to shut Brands down
Cloud-nya
here with
Brands
2 marksman
ban
bans.
lah.
Leslie and Claude. Only
Kayak
the
apa isi
Irisel
Brands ya?
being ready, opened up here for Team Indonesia. And Arashi. The Irithel up against the Beatrix here, up against so much dive as well. A lot of CC. Might be a risky pick.
Pakai apa
For
ini
setup Indonesia.
Brands
But
ya?
it is the best pick, in my opinion, looking at it right now, with all the bans.
Maybe something crazy will come up, but it definitely shows that the Philippines want to have advantage in the late game. That Leslie and Claude are both very late game heroes, so maybe Indonesia can throw a curveball and pick a very aggressive
Wah,
early
Melissa
game
sih
hero
masih
instead.
enak
But no,
banget
it will
ini
be
ya.
the Melissa. It still has a lot of AoE and
Nah,
a lot
sulit
of
didekati
potential
sih.
to push away all these heroes that
Sama
can pose a
bonekanya
threat
itu loh
to
yang
the roster,
bikin
at least the backline
bisa
of Indonesia.
nyicil.
So a very counter
Jadi
smart
dia
approach
mainnya
as well.
area gitu
Finally,
kan.
Philippines are gonna round out their team composition. It's
Gila
gonna be Lapu-Lapu. Will it
sih.
be
Oh,
the signature as well?
You gotta do it, man.
Hero
You gotta
signature-nya
do it,
dari
man. Do it.
Oh,
Come on.
main Venus ya
Philippines
guys ya.
hovering
Si Estes
over
ini
the
kan.
signature pick, the M3 Blacklist International skin. But they were just over the Matilda.
Tidak
They decided to go
ternyata
for
dia
the Matilda,
pakai
maybe for
si
game number
ini
1
ya.
here. Maybe they're saving the best for last, Arashi. But
can't believe they've
there's
done
already
this.
a good
Matilda
show
ya.
from the Philippines,
Dia juga
showing that even
sama-sama hero
as a shadow
signature-nya
pick,
sih.
it got us all hyped. It got the viewers all hyped as well, 100%. Team Indonesia with that Melissa
Kurang
pick
mid
though
lane-nya aja sih,
will
si
have a
Evos.
bit of that disengage potential and a little bit of pressure actually in that gold lane. It is a winning lane for the Melissa in a straight up 1v1.
Di Filipina ini
Now they are going to have
100%
to
bisa
pick
junglernya Fredrin ya guys ya.
either a roamer or a jungler depending on where the Kaja is going to go.
They require
Vokal
some kind of
kuat
crowd
banget
control,
sih
man.
itu
They have a lot of
junglernya
ways
sih.
to actually facilitate their fight.
Dia bisa
But when
ngasih
it comes to
badan
forcing
juga kan.
the Philippines into their own game, into fights that they want to take, it's going to be a bit difficult
mid
without any
lanernya
secure. And it will be the Gushin picked up.
Hah?
Hang on here. Let's take a very close look at the battle spells because that will tell a very interesting story. Okay,
There you
all right.
go.
Oh.
It is going to be the Kaja in the roam, as we mentioned before. The
Kajanya
flex
jadi
potential
roam,
for
guys.
the Kaja. We've
Jadi
seen it in the
roamernya,
mid
guys.
lane
Jadi
yesterday.
mid
Now
lane-nya
we're seeing it
jadi,
in the roam
Paramis ya.
position with the Gushin in the jungle.
Wow.
Based on both of the drafts, Philippines with a bit of both. So both of the drafts has a
lihat
lot of
pertandingannya,
dimensions
guys,
to
ya.
play with, a lot of win conditions to play around, with the dive being there to pick as well, and even the kite back, front to back.
I think the kite back, that is the main
That's
concern
tetap
here. For the
Indo
side of
pride, ya.
Indonesia, they have one big engage tool. They have the Divine Judgment from Kaja. And if that doesn't work out, or if the Philippines put Purifies on their main core heroes, this is going to be a very difficult game for Indonesia if they want to try and snowball, if they want to try and wreak havoc in the plans of the Philippines. Because we know when it comes to those strategic, slow maneuvers, the Philippines have a bit of an edge. At least that's what the, the public will believe.
Well, we'll see how the match plays out here, Rashi, as we are going to
Kita lihat
get
ya
ready
guys ya,
for
mainnya
the
seperti
game. We're
apa
going to
ya
get ready to
Filipina
enter the
kali ini.
portal, to enter the land of dawn for Team Philippines versus
Nah, inilah game pertama ya
Indonesia
guys ya.
on the opening match of day number 2. We're going to dive straight into the land of dawn, ladies and gentlemen, for Indonesia versus
junglernya
Philippines.
Indonesia pakai
Wow,
gitu ya guys.
honestly, the early game is going to be
Pakai cushion
so important here because at any moment, right, any one of these teams, they can actually get an advantage, and if they do, both Indonesia and
Junglernya
Philippines are
tas kali ini,
notorious
guys, ya.
for taking that kind
Yang
of
saya
lead
katakan tadi
and
bukan
actually using it as efficiently as
Persik
possible and
maupun
punishing every
si
single mistake.
Sucin
And
ya.
if they do that, they can set the tone for the mid to late game all the way since as early as the 2nd or 3rd minute.
You can see in the start here,
Bakal
both teams
berani
wanting to go
banget
for
sih
just
di Fred
a normal
ini.
start, not really going for anything too aggressive
maju-maju.
early on. They both just want to clear their camps, get to
badannya kan
a
dia.
point where they can finally actually deal out some damage
nyari
to burst and
jungler-junglernya
obviously use
musuhnya.
those power spikes
kan.
well. Here, Arashi, with the pathing of both of the junglers, it does feel like they want to play towards the side laners a little bit early as well. We've also seen many times that Del Rosario on the utility junglers really likes to go and
Melisanya
clear
bisa
that gold
area
lane
gitu
to
kan,
help
sambil nyicil-nyicil.
the Beatrix out.
Well, the early game, it's going to be so much pressure, so many things for the roamers to do, right? Because in the early game, it's always about how the roamers can facilitate. Will they move towards the gold lane? Will they move towards the mid lane? You know, once you get one of your laners ahead, that will allow you to use that lane as the basis to make plays happen.
Well, here it is once again, 2 minutes in, and it's going to be Team Philippines who has a bit more pressure around a turtle with the Black Dragon form being popped in. It's still going to be Del Rosario
mana
who
ini gambarnya,
secures the
guys?
retribution on the turtle. Divine
Dan
Judgment going to be
offline-nya
popped
mana,
in
guys?
towards Padapop,
Jadi
but it's not going
podcaster
to
ya.
work.
That is a
Siapa
very,
nih yang
very
jadinya
tanky
dapat?
hero. And you can see that despite all
Dapat
the
turtle-nya.
burst damage being used by the Indonesian team, you do see that the Lapu-Lapu, man, is just so tanky. And we've seen this from Malaysia yesterday, actually.
Mana woi,
Formates able to 1v4. Maybe we'll see a similar play out for the Philippines in the bottom side.
Aduh, mana ini?
2 minutes in, it's already a neutral objective secure for Team Philippines. And now they're going to look, again, just to play it calmly, play it efficiently. And that's exactly what they need to do. They do not need to go for anything too aggressive here when they
Networknya masih
have the
beda
lead.
For the
400 ya.
Indonesians, they need to make sure that they
400 kan.
abuse that cult altar as much as possible. They do have the Black Dragon form as well, so those objective takes are going to be very much in their favor, only if they are able to actually get an advantage and actually capitalize on the fact that they have a bit more crowd control and they have a lot more utility that they can actually abuse to force the Philippines into a tough spot. But of course, if they do go too aggressively, there is a Lapu-Lapu, there is a Valentina, so a lot of counter-engage potential from the side of the Philippines.
Well, here it is,
Bisa
another
mati
engage
sih
coming
ini
in, and that's
sih.
going to be Dreams taken
Oh,
really
guys,
low.
mati
First
kan?
blood over to Philippines as they're looking for more. That's the
Mati
IMU
masukin.
doing work, stealing
Dua.
away to the Divine Judgment and picking up another for
Dua,
Imam in
guys.
the mid lane.
Ini
That
kalau
is
si
what you have to be
Philippine,
aware of, man.
dia
If you don't want
disiplin
to deal
banget
with
kalau mau
engage,
nge-gank.
you can engage on the engager, and that is
Satu
exactly
maju,
what the
backupnya
Philippines have
selalu
done.
datang.
They take out Dreams, and they hunt for stragglers afterwards. They have the tempo in the game right now, and if you look at the side lanes, that is where the action will start building up. Because with pressure in all the lanes from the Philippines, they're going to try and cut into the jungle and cut off members of Indonesia from their own backup.
I just really like how Soriano is taking this lane, is approaching this lane, this matchup, right? Up against the Melissa, he knows exactly that he is going to
Tackle-nya
lose out
sih
if he goes
free
for
sih
these
buat
trades, if he
Philippine
goes
kalau
for these
ini mah.
1v1 duels. So
Si
what he does
Tyson-nya
is he
masih
swaps over to the Bennett
open.
just to clear out the waves, rotates over to help this team, and simultaneously gets even more gold because they're trying their best to actually funnel as much towards Soriano.
And if Soriano gets a bit more items, he can very easily start poking down members from the side of the Indonesians, because there's only one real tanky frontline member in Psychots, and if he is too low for a fight, it's going to be very difficult for the Indonesians to try and contest any kind of objective.
Well,
Dikasih
ladies and
es,
gentlemen, here,
dipatahin sama Malta ini,
Villa
guys.
Luna
Iya,
in the
gila.
gold lane.
Tengah darah guys,
They're looking for
si Fransnya.
some plays here up in the gold lane.
The gold lane for sure has been the target for a lot of players, but here we go, they push passion.
Soriano picking up a kill, and now Dreams is going to be very, very low. Gets out just barely here, but you can already see the cut coming in from Del Rosario over the top side. There's going to be flickers over under the tier 2. Dreams not using flicker just yet. Very wise to save that flicker, as he did have a bit of backup.
As we called it out, man, the side lanes. There you go. Indonesia just a bit too late, a bit too behind when it comes to that pressure, and the Philippines absolutely capitalize and punish anybody who is too who doesn't want to back away from their first turret, and they have taken the first structure, the first objective, and with that, they will have a lot more areas on the map to make plays around, and they do have a lot of very good catch.
This is it, Arashi. This is the meta that we have been mentioning about. The ultimate bonding experience where they group up as 5 into the mid lane. They start to just put in a lot of mid pressure so that they can actually have more room to play in the side waves. 4 members grouping up and always just dap-a-dap in that XP lane solo.
Villa Luna right now, though, has completed that Radiant Armor. That item reduces damage when it comes to multiple instances of damage. So against a Paramis, against a Kaja or the Gusion, it's going to be very good. But look at that.
Big potential over to Del Rosario. He comes in using so much damage with Appraiser's Wrath. Taking back a whole lot of HP and outplaying the situation, turning it completely around. It's looking bad for Indonesia, as that's going to be the 3rd turtle over to Philippines with no trades on the board, no turrets, no kills so far.
They put a trigger on that play with the objective to try and force the Philippines' hand, but instead the Philippines has all the answers. A tanky front line, 2 tanky front lines in fact, and a lot of utility to ensure that their member stays alive, and afterwards they can just chase and take out members of Indonesia one by one, and even then they go for the pressure, and it seems like the Indonesians, they have to try and make a huge play happen or a massive pickoff, but it's going to be very difficult because the positioning from the Philippines is way too good.
The setup, the positioning, and the trigger instantly onto Psychots, picking him up, baiting Indonesia over to that bottom side to pick up a free turret and 2 free kills in the process. It does feel like so far in this game, the Philippines are a step, maybe even 2 steps ahead of Team Indonesia, as Dream's going to get knocked up. Imam looking for that follow-up, just a zone Indonesia away from the tier 2 as they look to start sieging down on every single turret.
The damage difference right now from both teams is just so difficult to deal with. We mentioned how there's only one real frontline on the side of Indonesia, and look at what happens to him in a big fight. He gets taken out. The cult altar is so non-existent. The Philippines are able to just burst through it and go on with their day. Soriano right now with the Malefic Roar completed. That is a lot of penetration on top of the already insane amount of damage and burst that the Beaches can bring to the table.
This is what Philippines loves to do when they're ahead, right? They use the distraction that is Dapadap, who's practically currently unkillable on that Lapu-Lapu. They use him as a distraction in the side lane solo, picking up a turret. Meanwhile, they set up on the other side. Usually, they like to play on the opposite side and use the conceal to catch the enemies off guard. But there, you can see again, a curveball thrown over to Indonesia. Or maybe Indonesia have done their research onto how Philippines likes to play with the lead. They take another step ahead, and they think 2 steps ahead of Indonesia. Right now, again, it's going to be Divine Judgment coming in, but it's all onto the frontliners with a lot of the resources burnt out. It's going to be Cyclops who jumps in and finishes off Soriano in the back lines, splitting Philippines in 2. Imam now flickering out, getting to safety, but all that was for the Lord. It's a 2 for 1 in the end. 2 kills over to Indonesia for a Lord take. Arashi, who's it worth for?
Itu guys, kalau Filipina sekali mereka komit
more than ever on taking all those structures away from Indonesia, I think the Lord will be very, very beneficial. Unfortunately, they lose their gold leader as well, which is not ideal. But if you take a look at the items right here, he is on 7,300 gold. As we mentioned, BOD and straight to a Malefic Roar, ensuring that anyone getting caught in his ultimates will get absolutely decimated.
What's another thing that I want to mention is the fact that the kill, 2 kills that Indonesia picked up earlier was onto 2 members with no bounty. There was no shutdown there. So even though they were Indonesia were able to find some kills, it was just normal gold. It wasn't the added gold that we usually see and they get the Lord
selisih
for that.
6.000,
So
guys.
if it was a shutdown, I would actually say that Indonesia definitely came out on top in
Masih
terms of
bisa
value.
kayaknya
But here,
balikinnya.
Taz might actually be caught, forced to use that ultimate defensively to get out.
And everyone is from the Philippines is available
Mestinya
because the
cuman
death timers
buat
are very,
cover
very
doang,
short, and they are going for a siege here, where
Masih
Indonesia
bertahan sih,
don't
masih
have a lot
bertahan.
of tools to try and counter the poke damage.
Masih.
Slowly but surely, the Philippines is chipping away at the structures
Yuk,
and
yuk,
at the
bisa yuk,
HP
Indonesia
bars
yuk.
of the
Masih
Indonesian
bisa nih,
players.
It's a good defense by Indonesia. They're able
harus
to minimize their
disiplin sih
losses
mereka
here,
sih.
only losing that tier 2 in the mid lane for
Karena
now.
disiplin
But
bakal
Brands is going to
panis
be
mereka
zoned
nih.
away from that mid lane.
Tuh, Philippine atau perang.
Philippines
Satu,
looking
atau
for that,
perang.
but look at Psychots with the Petrify. He's able to find
Petes
two
momennya,
on
guys.
the flanks.
Whoa.
Psychots absolutely
Petes
massive
momennya,
as
guys.
his engage
Psychotnya, guys.
has started a war that Indonesia can
Mantap,
finally
bisa
win
yuk.
here in
Balikin yuk,
this
balikin
game. 3-0 trade as Indonesia look to
Pintu atasnya.
climb, to crawl themselves back in this game.
Blink and you'll miss it.
Gila.
An engage that gave way for Indonesia to take 3 kills for a trade of none. And along with that, Taz is able to secure the purple buff
beda
from the side of the
dua
Philippines
level
as
sih
well.
di
So now they
tasnya.
have a momentum. They have recovered a bit of that
Masih
gold
junglernya
difference.
tuh.
Only 2K right now, but the Philippines, they are still in the lead, and they are no stranger to these late game situations.
Dreams opening up the
Mati,
map
Mbak.
just a bit.
Oh, Mbak.
Going to be chunked down by Del Rosario, but he is going to be able to back off without having
Lumayan lah ya.
anything taken
Dapat
away.
satu tower kan.
Honestly, looking at it right now, Rashi, Indonesia, their main win condition,
Masih
we
bisa
thought it would
napas
be
guys,
Brands on that
Indonesia,
Melissa. We thought it was going to be the
Harus sering-sering
Gushin
gitu
on
sih.
the hands of Taz, but it's actually Psychots,
Biar
the man that has
penulis
been
satu-satu
doubted so
mereka.
many times by everyone.
By the public. I mean, this man has had a very lackluster season in his last performance. That was a performance in the last season, actually, rather. But here, knowing that Indonesia are relying very, very heavily on a very reliable engage, his Yuzong has been critical. But after 2 engages, will Philippines fall for the same trick twice?
Divine Judgment over the Dreams. That's going to be the frontliner taken out. That's going to be that. Oh my god, so much damage onto the Lapu.
Masih selamat tuh si
Fortunately, won't be enough though. And now Indonesia,
katanya nggak
they're actually
mati.
backing away, and it will be waiting for the Lord take. And
Si
Philippines,
Paramis-
they are so
Paramis
good
nggak
at
berikan
the
mati
Lord
tuh.
dance, going back and forth, waiting for their opponents to make a mistake. And with such a long range basic attack on their B-tricks, they can do better.
That's what they were waiting for. The Black Dragon form now baited out.
Oh!
Because of the Petrify onto Soriano, who's forced to flicker out. But Psychos jumps in. 1v4, soaking in all the damage and sustaining back up. Top it up, gonna be taken down by Brands. And that's another kill over to Indonesia, who were able to play with the death timers of Dreams really well. With him now respawning, they've taken back the lead if they actually can secure the Lord, which they should be able to. Free Lord over to Indonesia. They're not stopping just yet though. Conceal play from Indonesia. They back off.
Back up for now, as the orange buff will be contested as well. So the Philippines are now on the back foot. And if you look at the composition, in a way, right, in the big team fights, there's a lot more DPS and utility available in the hands of the Indonesians. After that play, they go for the purple buff as well, and the Philippines have a huge problem on their hands. The Black Dragon form lasts for way too long. The Guiding Wind was used to try and buy some make some distance, buy some more time, but it was not enough. The Philippines must come up with a different solution, a different answer.
A momentum shift in the 13th minute of the game. And now it's Philippines who have their backs against the wall with the Enhanced Lord marching in that top lane. Evos Legends here, Team Indonesia are going to look to try to siege them down. Psychots once again with a Black Dragon form as Del Rosario tries his best to keep Psychots at bay. The damage comes through once again for the siege to take place, but that's going to be Dabadab who jumps in with the bravest fighter. But it's going to be a good disengage from Indonesia, backing off knowing that they have found some value. They've taken every single tier 2 except for the bottom lane.
And look at how Psychos is playing around with his Petrify, man. He goes in for the Black Dragon form, but he doesn't always use that Petrify. And when you think about it, the Petrify is what makes these engages so dangerous. It guarantees the Furious dive knock-up, and that is what allows Indonesia to just be a lot more elusive. And as we talked about it earlier, this is what is so dangerous. They can feint around. act like they're about to engage a fight and then back away, the Philippines need to identify the right moment and then adjust accordingly. Do they want to go and fight after the Black Dragon form is down, or do they want to just stall?
Villaluna with that circling eagle over the branch, but it's going to be baited in with the cold ultra placed as well. Soriano targeted by the flanks, and that's going to be Taz who picks up the Beatrix. Soriano taken down, Brands in the midst of it all, still life stealing with his fire! Bro! It's massive! He is an absolute beast as he wins the battle for Indonesia! It's a 4-0 trade! Indonesia with a comeback here with the tides turned completely. Only Villaluna left to defend with the mini wave crashing in. Villaluna going to be brought back with a Shadow Stampede. Villaluna outside of the base, and Indonesia with the Divine Judgment onto Villaluna will go to the base to pick up the first game of the series.
Oh my god, what an upset!